Hi, Year 6. So today we're moving on from learning about the heart last week today to learning about the lungs. So similar idea to last time. Start off with just making a note of what you already know about the lungs. You may know more or less. There might be some things that you picked up about the lungs last week that you can remember in part of doing some of those tasks to do with the heart, or you might have some other background knowledge, particularly if maybe you or somebody in your family's got asthma, then you might know a little bit more about the lungs. Things that we're looking to cover today is to have a bit of an idea about how the lungs work, describing their structure and explaining what happens when we breathe in and out. So I'm going to show you this video now.
Take a moment to feel what happens to your body when you breathe in or inhale air. When we inhale, our lungs grow bigger. This makes air enter our nose and mouth and flow down the windpipe or trachea to fill up our lungs. The air travels through small tubes called bronchioles. And into tiny pockets called air sacs. Air is a mix of different gases, but there is one that's essential to keep our bodies working. That's oxygen. In the air sacs, oxygen moves from the air into our bloodstream and is circulated all around the body. At the same time as oxygen enters our bloodstream, another gas, called carbon dioxide, exits. Carbon dioxide is produced when we turn food into energy in our body's cells. We don't need carbon dioxide. It's a waste product we breathe out or exhale. Carbon dioxide passes from our bloodstream into the air in our lungs. Our lungs become smaller, and the air inside them is forced out through our nose and mouth. So when you inhale, you breathe in essential oxygen. And when you exhale, you breathe out waste carbon dioxide.
Okay, great. So moving on then to having a bit more of a think about what breathing is. So the breathing system, which is sometimes called the respiratory system, is used by the body to get the oxygen needed for a process called respiration. So that's what happens in your cells in order to give you energy. It's also used to get rid of the waste product carbon dioxide, as was mentioned in that video that you've watched just now. And breathing in and breathing out are two separate processes, even though obviously we do both of them. Another name for breathing in is inhalation. And when we do this, we breathe in air, including oxygen, into our lungs. Breathing out is also called exhalation. And when you exhale, you are breathing out the contents of your lungs to get rid of the waste gas carbon dioxide. So it's all about getting oxygen in and getting carbon dioxide out. It's all to do with this, as I mentioned, this chemical process that all of your cells are doing in order to give you energy to do things like moving, and that process is respiration. All right, so some of the key structures here is we've got the lungs there, and the lungs are enclosed inside the rib cage, and that is so that they are protected. So they're protected by the rib cage, and then there's the diaphragm along the bottom here, which closes off the bottom of the lungs and means that the lungs are really encased in the rib cage and in the diaphragm. When we breathe out, the rib cage, as you saw there, moves down and in, and the diaphragm moves up. What I'll do is I'll just play that again so you can just see it happening. There we go. So we can see the rib cage has moved down and in, and the diaphragm has moved up. You can try this yourself. If you breathe out with one hand on the side of your rib cage, is you can feel that your rib cage will move down and in very slightly. As well, at the same time, is there are muscles called the intercostal muscles, which are between the ribs, and they're going to be relaxing as you breathe out in order to allow your rib cage to move down and to move back in. This makes the volume, so the space inside your lungs, smaller, and that's what pushes air out of your lungs when you breathe out. Breathing in, everything happens the other way around. So again, you can put a hand on the side of your rib cage and take a really deep breath in, and you'll be able to feel your rib cage moving up and out. You'll be able to feel your rib cage pushing out against your hand if you do this. At the same time, if you take a really deep breath, your diaphragm, which is that layer of muscle at the bottom of the lungs, will move down, and you can feel that if you take a really deep breath, you can feel it kind of pushing down on your stomach. As you breathe in, those muscles that were between the ribs, the intercostal muscles, this time they're going to contract, and that's going to be what's pulling the rib cage up and outwards slightly as you take a big deep breath in. So I'll give you a second to see if you can remember what these are, just before I put the answers in. But there were 4 different structures there that I've mentioned to do with parts of the lungs involved in respiration. So out of these 4, this first one is definitely going to be the lungs, so these large spaces here. Next one then is we've got the ribs, so this is going to show the ends of the ribs, and then between and surrounding the ribs we're going to have the intercostal muscles, so the muscles that are going to hold the ribs together, and then at the bottom we're going to have the diaphragm that closes everything off at the bottom. If you need a diagram to refer back to, this is going to show you everything that you might need at this stage. You've got the lungs there, you've got the ribs, and the intercostal muscles aren't really shown on here, but they would be between the ribs, and you've got the diaphragm at the bottom, and also the trachea or windpipe, and then the nose and mouth there as well. So what I'm going to talk to you about now is a really cool practical that you can have a go at doing at home. It is possible to do it without somebody at home to help you, but it is a lot easier with an extra pair of hands. I can say this in personal experience. So what we're going to have a go at doing, and what you're going to have a go at doing, is measuring the vital capacity, which is the maximum volume of air that you can breathe out after taking a deep breath in. So this is helpful, and there's lots of machines that do this, but this is helpful to work out if maybe there's something that's not working quite right with somebody's lungs, is that they can investigate this. Now, the way that we're going to have a go at doing it is that we're going to see how much water you can displace. So how much water can you push out of a water bottle with the air inside your lungs. So I'll read you through the method, and you can see a diagram and also a photograph here. So first you fill a bottle with water. It can be like this, like a water bottle like this. You can use a jug as well, but it's just some of the steps are a bit more difficult. Whereas with a water bottle, it's a bit easier to cover over the opening. So you first fill a water bottle with water. Cover the end of the bottle with your hand and place it upside down in a bowl of water. You can use a bowl, like a big glass bowl, as this looks more like a cereal bowl. You could use a washing up bowl, all different kinds of things. Carefully remove your hand and place a straw in the opening of the bottle. So you can see that they've had to kind of bend the straw a little bit to get it to fit. And this is the step that I think you might need somebody else's help with, just to help to hold the bottle under, so that the kind of the cap part is under the water while you put the straw under. It's a little bit fiddly if it's by yourself, because the water bottle can kind of tip over and then it will let air in. So then after you've got that all set up, you take a big deep breath in and then breathe out slowly through the straw. And you want to try to breathe out as much as possible so that you feel like your lungs are totally empty into the bottle. As you breathe out, the air from your lungs is going to be taking the place of the water in the bottle. And so you'll be able to see how much air was in your lungs by looking at how much water has been pushed out of the bottle. The more water that's been pushed out, the larger the lung capacity. You could also do some repeats of this so that your results are more reliable. You could also see who in your family has the largest lung capacity. If you made sure you took a big breath in and breathed out fully, then the resulting volume of water should be equivalent to how much air your lungs can hold. And the larger the air capacity, so the larger the volume of air that your lungs can hold, the more oxygen you should be able to get around your body to your cells, so they can do that chemical process that we mentioned earlier, respiration, in order to give you energy. This does increase naturally as you get older, but the more exercise you do can also increase your lung capacity too. On this one, there's two links. This first one uses Flash, which doesn't work for everybody. The second one doesn't. So hopefully one of these will work. I haven't personally checked them on the iPad, but this second one I think should work. If they don't work, don't worry too much about it. It's just a chance to get a bit more familiar with some of the key structures. This next one then is your kind of main research task, which is all to do with asthma. So asthma is a condition which affects the airways. You may have asthma, you may know somebody who has asthma. It is reasonably common. Don't worry if you don't, that just means you've got an opportunity to do some research to find out a bit about it. So these are some of the questions to be trying to answer here down the side. You've got the QR code and then the link on the PowerPoint there for that one. And then finally on here, if you enjoyed, I can see that some of you did have a go at making the heart model last week. If you enjoyed that, you could make a model of the lungs using the worksheet and instructions that I've added onto Google Classroom. So this is again is optional because you have to be able to print it. I haven't drawn this one out this week, but you do need to be able to print it and cut it out, but I can tell that some people did do it. So if you want to have a go at this one, then that is there for you as well. All right, have a great week, everybody, and a great half term when it finally comes.